Dear students, let us continue our computer graphics and visualization, module 4, which is on viewing. Today we are going to continue on the perspective projection transformation matrix, various type of views with respect to the perspective, then how to go for converting from the viewport to three-dimensional screen coordinates, and lastly the OpenGL three-dimensional viewing functions. So in the perspective, what we were studying in the last class, continuing on that one. So we can now, we were making use of several formulas to come up with a projection. These formulas are very significant because they are going to be make use of in the APIs what will be used for the projections. So unlike a parallel projection, perspective projection, it is more realistic and we have to compute it differently. So for that we are going to make use of the coefficients of the x and y coordinates, and then we'll also have to see that this is involving the z coordinate, because here we are talking about the three dimensions. So in the perspective projection, when we are going to make use of the xp and the yp, the xp and the yp, that is a projected point, they will depend upon the homogeneous coordinate system, because we have to go for a three-dimensional homogeneous coordinate system. So the relation for the xp and the yp with respect to the homogeneous coordinate system is given in this equation 22. The perspective projection transformation of a viewing coordinate position can be got by using two steps. First, we have to calculate the homogeneous coordinates using the perspective transformation matrix. And then we have to go for pH is equal to m perspective into p, where pH is the column matrix representation of the homogeneous point, that is xh, yh, zh and h, and p is the column matrix representation of the coordinate position x, y, z and 1. After this, then we go for normalization transformation and clipping routines. Then the homogeneous coordinates are divided by the parameter h to get the true transformation coordinate positions. Now we can set up the matrix elements for obtaining the homogeneous coordinate xh and yh values from the previous formulas, and then we can go for structuring the matrix. In this matrix, we should be able to preserve the z value information, that is the depth information. Otherwise, the z coordinates are distorted by the homogeneous division parameter h. So what we can do, we can go for z transformation normalization by using the zp coordinates. The homogeneous parameter, it depends upon the z parameter. So the projection reference point on the z, it is taken to be as the supporting for the homogeneous coordinate system, as in the equation 23. The numerators, the xh and the yh, they also depend upon the projection reference point on the z as well as on the viewing plane. So VP stands for viewing plane and PRP stands for the projection reference point. So this is one way how we can go for developing a perspective projection matrix. So in this we can see, by making use of the xh parameter, we have come up with the values for the first row. So where we are having the values for the x, and in the second one we are having the values for the y. In the from the formula 24, we are getting this matrix, and in the third one it is corresponding to z. So we are having sz, that is the scaling on the z and the transformation on the z as the z value and the homogeneous coordinate value. And then in the last row, because of the formula 23, we have the homogeneous coordinate system, the z coefficient. So the z coefficient is equal to -1, and the ZPRP is the coefficient for the homogeneous coordinate system. So you can look at the parameters which are varying over here. So the homogeneous coordinate system, what we have the column and the row, there we have the projection reference points. The projection reference points come into picture whenever we are having a perspective projection. So the ZPRP, YPRP and the XPRP, they are the points which are lying on the viewing coordinate system. So they should be mapped onto the view plane. So this is the matrix which is going to be used when we are going to have a perspective projection. In the symmetric perspective projection frustum, we will talk about how in the perspective projection we will have some symmetry. So in this case you can see that the line which is connecting the center of the clipping window through the view volume for a perspective projection frustum, that is symmetric. That means whatever the center line is there, if it is at the center of the clipping window and it is at the center of the view volume, then that can be considered as a symmetric frustum. So the center line, it is going to intersect the view plane at one point, and that point is called as XPRP, YPRP and the ZVP. So we can express the corner positions of the clipping window, XWmin, YWmin, XWmax and YWmax by using the window's width and height. X is corresponding to the width and Y is corresponding to the height. Here we can see a symmetric perspective projection frustum. The dark shade what is there, that is called as the frustum. That means the volume which is coming between the near clipping plane and the far clipping plane. So because it is a three-dimensional perspective, we will be having a volume, and whatever is present within this volume, they will be reflected on your display. Only those things we can see. So if I am having a point XPRP, YPRP and ZPRP and one line connecting from this one into the center of the frustum, so we are having a center line. So from this picture we can see that this is a symmetric perspective because here we are having the line equally dividing the volume. If we look from the top or from the side or from front, from all the directions, it will look the same. That is why this is called as a symmetric perspective projection. So whatever the light rays is coming from the object in a scene, they will be within the cone of vision. That means whatever we can see, only that will be called as the cone of vision. The cone of vision is nothing but it is the field of view angle, and this depends upon the size of the camera lens. So whatever can be seen through the camera, only those points, objects can be captured in your view volume. If I am having a wide angle of view, that is the field of view angle is very wide, that means it is corresponding to a wide angle lens. In computer graphics, this cone of vision, it is approximated with a symmetric frustum, and we can use a field of view angle to specify the angular size for the frustum. Typically, the field of view angle is the angle made between the top clipping plane and the bottom clipping plane of the frustum. So here we are talking about the theta which is at an angle for the top clipping plane and the bottom clipping plane. For a given projection reference point, so we have one reference point over here, and the view plane position, the field of view angle, it will determine the height of the clipping window, but not its width. So that we have to remember. From this we can only get the height, but we cannot get the width. So the next one is the oblique perspective projection frustum. That means now we will talk about perspective projection frustum, where the volume will be not straightforward. It will be somewhat slanted, and that is why it is called as a oblique. So that means The line connecting the XPRP, YPRP and the ZP, what is there, to the view volume center, the center what is there, so that will not be straight, it won't be perpendicular to the view plane, then this is called as a oblique frustum. So in the next slide we are going to see a picture, we are going to see a diagram which is the oblique frustum. So because it is oblique, what we have to do, first we should go for converting that to symmetric, and then only we can go for normalization. So we cannot just go for directly, I mean we'll consider the oblicity, but when you have to go for displaying, we have to go for converting that to symmetric and then putting that to the normalization view volume. So here you can see the view for the oblique perspective projection frustum, and the line which is connecting the reference point, that is a projection reference point, XPRP, YPRP and the ZPRP, and the center of the view volume, it is not perpendicular to the view plane. It is at an angle, it is making an angle, it is slanted, and that is why this is called as a oblique perspective projection frustum. So this has to be first converted to a symmetric frustum by applying the z-axis shearing. So the z-axis shearing we have to apply first, then all the points on this plane, they will be made now perpendicular to the z-axis. By how much it will be made perpendicular, it depends upon the amount that is proportional to the distance of the plane from the z-axis reference position. So which is a reference position for us now with respect to z, that is ZPRP. Because the ZPRP is the coordinate of the projection reference point. Then we are going to shift, and then we are going to move the center of the clipping window to one position, XPRP, YPRP on the view plane. So because the frustum center line is passing through the center of the clipping window, this shift is going to adjust the center line so that now it is perpendicular to the view plane. So the computations for the shearing transformations as well as for the perspective and the normalization transformations, they will be simplified if we take the projection reference point to be the viewing coordinate origin. So we can do this without losing any values in a scene, so that our selected position is shifted to the coordinate origin. Or we can also go for setting up the viewing reference point so that its origin is at the projection point, and then by using the graphics libraries we can go for fixing the projection reference point and then go for the transformation. Taking the projection reference point, that is the XPRP, YPRP and the ZPRP as origin. So from this we can go for getting the shearing matrix contents. So this will be as shown in the equation 30. So it is influencing the shearing of the ZX and the shearing of the ZY. We can simplify the elements of the perspective projection matrix if we are going to place the view plane at a position of the near clipping plane. So since we now want to move the center of the clipping window to the coordinates of the XP, RP and YPRP, that is 0, 0 on the view plane, we are going to choose the values for the shearing parameters in such a way that it is going to be moved to the center. It will be made as symmetric. So we are going to make use of the X value and the Y value with respect to the window's minimum and the maximum in terms of the width and in terms of the height for the Y. And of course for the Z near, that means if for the Z axis we need to have the Z near value. So now we have the projection reference point at the viewing coordinate origin and also the near clipping plane as the view plane. So for considering all these things, now we can compute the perspective projection matrix which is given in the equation 33. So we can see here the perspective projection matrix. It will be having SZ and the TZ as the sharing on the Z and transformation, that is a translation on the Z, along with the minus Z near and minus Z near for the X and the Y value. Expressions for the Z coordinate scaling and transformation parameters, they will be determined by the normalization requirements. So it depends upon the normalization, whether it should be negative or positive. So then we can combine the perspective projection matrix with the shear matrix to obtain the oblique perspective projection matrix. This is used for converting coordinate positions in a scene, in a 3D scene, to a homogeneous orthogonal projection coordinates. So the projection reference point for this transformation, it is taken as the viewing coordinate origin. The viewing coordinate origin, that is 0, 0, 0. And the near clipping plane, that is considered as the view plane. That means the first plane what we are coming across in the frustum, the front clipping plane what we are coming across, that is called as the view plane. Although we no longer have options for the placement of the projection reference point and the view plane, so this matrix, it is going to provide a very effective method for generating a perspective projection view of the scene. So here we don't have to go for sacrificing a great deal of flexibility. And if you are going to choose the clipping window coordinates so that the xw max will be equal to minus xw min and yw max will be equal to minus yw min, the frustum view volume will be symmetric. This is because the projection reference point is now at the origin of the viewing coordinate frame. So if I make the ZPRP is equal to 0 and ZVP is equal to Z near, so it is going to express first two diagonal elements of this matrix in terms of the field of view of angle and the clipping window dimensions. So these are some of the things what we have to keep in mind when we go for the oblique perspective projection frustum. So it is not straight. So here we are having an oblique, an inclined perspective. When we have an inclined perspective, so we should make use of a shearing to bring it back to the symmetric, and then we have to multiply it with the perspective projection, which will give rise to the M oblique perspective. That means it's a combination of the oblique as well as the perspective. We have to convert the oblique perspective to the normal matrix, and that normalized matrix will be equal to what is given in the equation 34. When we are going to divide the homogeneous coordinates by the homogeneous parameter h, we are going to get the actual projection coordinates, which are called as the orthogonal projection coordinates. So this perspective projection, it is going to transform all the points within your frustum view volume to some positions within a rectangular parallelepiped view volume. So the final step in this perspective transformation will be to normalize. So that is why now we are going for the normalized perspective projection transformation coordinates. So we'll see how we can go for the final step of mapping from this rectangular parallelepiped view volume to the normalized view volume. For the normalized perspective projection transformation coordinates, the normalization procedure will be the same thing what we have used for the previous parallel projections. So how it is going to be done means the transformed frustum view volume, which is rectangular parallelepiped, it will be mapped to a symmetric normalized cube within a left-handed reference frame. Anyhow, we have included the normalization parameters for the z coordinates in the perspective projection matrix, but we have to find the values for these parameters when we transform them to the symmetric normalization cube. We don't know what is their value when it is going for a symmetric. And also we have to find the normalization transformation parameters for the x and the y coordinates. This is how we are going to normalization. You can look at in this picture. So in this picture we have the bigger box, and that is the frustum. That is the part of the window in which I am having all the objects. So this has to be mapped onto the another cube. This cube is called as the normalized cube. So whatever we are having the pictures or the objects within this frustum, which is coming within the range xw min, yw min and z near, and xw max, yw max and z far, within that whatever is there, that will be now mapped onto the normalized view volume. You can see that it is not having any perspective or it is not oblique. It is a regular rectangular parallelepiped. Why? Because already we have applied the transformations to bring it to a symmetrical form. So it may be a oblique, it may be a perspective, whatever it may be, everything we are going to bring it to a regular form. That is the transformed frustum, which is symmetric. And in this view volume, whatever is there, that will be now converted to the normalized view volume. Of course, the normalized cube, the center will be at 0, 0, 0, and on all the sides it will be having unit distances. That means it will be having one value. One to the left, one to the right, one to the top or the bottom. So if it is negative, it will be -1. It can be +1 or -1 maximum. And the center will be at 0, 0, 0. X norm, Y norm and Z norm, it will be equal to 0, 0, 0. Since the center line of the rectangular parallelepiped view volume, it is a Z view axis, there is no need for translation when we go for the x and y normalization transformation. We will only require the x and the y scaling parameters, that is the sx and the sy. So these scaling parameters, the sx and the sy, they are relative to the coordinate origin. So we can see the scaling matrix which we are going to use for the xy normalization will be given by the mxy scale. That is the matrix for the scaling on the x and the y direction. This is given in the next slide. The scaling matrix for accomplishing the xy normalization is given by mxy scale. Here we are going to make use of only the sx and the sy, which are the x and y scaling parameters, and these are relative to the coordinate origin. Now we are going to concatenate the xy scaling matrix with the matrix for the oblique perspective. In the previous we have calculated that one, and now it is going to produce the following normalization matrix for perspective projection transformation. So the M normal perspective, it's a combination of the matrix on the xy scale and the matrix on the oblique perspective. So when we combine this, we are going to get a matrix here where we'll be having the Sx and the Sy are playing a major role here, along with the Sz and the Tz, and the xw min and xw max, that is the height and width of the window, also have to be considered when we are going for the normalization. So the perspective is converted to the normalization on a scale on the x and the y direction. So here we can see the matrix 36. It is got by multiplying the xy scale along with the oblique perspective matrix. To normalize this perspective transformation, we want the projection coordinates to be as -1, -1, -1. That is xp equals -1, yp equals -1 and zp is equal to -1. So you can see that now we are moving the reference point as xp, yp and zp. And the input coordinates of the x, y, z, they are given as xw min, yw min and the z near. That means the minimum point of the clipping window. And we want the projection coordinates to be xp, yp and zp as 1, 1 and 1. So when the input coordinates are, that is x, y, z are equal to xw max, yw max and the z far. So therefore, when we solve the equations for the previous matrix, So we are going to get the Sx, Sy, Sz and also the Tz values. So by making use of these parameters, now we can go for representing the M normal perspective. So in the M normal perspective, we are going to give the representations for the Sx, Sy, Sz and also the Tz value. So the simplified form, they will be now represented in terms of the width and the height of the window, which is much better. And also the near and the far, that means the boundary for the frustum is also considered here, and then we are going to develop a new matrix which is called as the M normal perspective. There is another way we can go for representing a normalized matrix with respect to symmetry and perspective. So if the perspective projection of the view volume was originally specified as a symmetric, then we can go for expressing the elements of the normalized perspective transformation in terms of theta. That is, theta is the angle of view, that is the field of view angle. And also the dimensions of the clipping window, that is z near and z far. With the projection reference point at the origin and the view plane at the position of the near clipping plane, we can get the matrix M normalized symmetrical perspective in terms of the theta, the z near and the z far. So it also depends upon the aspect ratio of the window. Finally, the complete transformation from the world coordinates to the normalized perspective projection coordinates, it will be a composite matrix which is consisting of concatenating the perspective matrix on the left of the view in transformation product, that is R into T, that is rotation into translation. Next, the clipping routines can be applied to the normalized view volume, and then the remaining task will be to see which will be visible, which is not visible, and how the surface has to be rendered, and then finally the transformation to the viewport, that is to the viewing window, that is the display. So the last step in the viewing, that is the viewport transformation. So now we will see the viewport transformation and the three-dimensional screen coordinates. After we complete the transformation to the normalized projection coordinates, now the clipping can be applied effectively to the symmetric cube. That means the unit cube what we discussed, that is a normalized cube. After the clipping procedures, the contents of the normalized view volume, they will be now moved to the screen coordinates. That means now it has to be displayed onto the screen, that is monitor. So for the x and y positions in the normalized clipping window, this procedure will be same like a 2D only. But we also have to bother about the z here. So the positions on the z, we need to retain the depth information so that the visibility testing and the surface rendering, they have to be done properly. So for this we are going to make use of several algorithms or the techniques, and then now we can go for the three-dimensional screen coordinates. The x and y transformation equations from the normalized clipping window to the positions within the rectangular viewport, they are now mapped to the screen coordinates along with the depth value, that is the z value. Now we are going to change this matrix to the 3D applications by including the parameters for the z values. So these z values, they are the transformation of the normalization onto the screen coordinates. Often the normalized z values within the symmetric cube, they are going to be renormalized on the range from 0 to 1. So whatever is there in 0 to minus 1 plus 1, they will be again normalized to 0 to 1. So which will allow for us to be putting them onto the video screen to be referenced as z is equal to 0, and now the depth processing can be conveniently taken over and we can go for the unit interval from 0 to 1. This 0 to 1 is more comfortable than going from 0 to 1 or 0 to minus 1. So we are going to consider all these things now. After normalization from 0 to -1 and 1, now we are going for normalization to 0 to 1. So if we are going to include this Z normalization, the transformation from the normalized view volume to the three-dimensional screen coordinate will be given by the matrix which is called as normalized view volume across the 3D screen. So this is the normalized vector. After normalization in the cube from 0 to 1 and 0 to -1, again we are going for normalization with respect to 0 to 1. So that is why here we can see that the scaling and the translation, everything is in terms of an exact value. And now it is only depending upon the XW min and XW max, YW min and YW max. There are no other parameters. So it only depends upon the frustum in terms of the volume of the frustum. So in the normalized coordinates, the Z normal will be equal to -1. That is the face of the symmetric cube, which is corresponding to the clipping window area. This face of the normal cube, it is mapped to the rectangular viewport. That viewport, now we are going to refer that as the Z screen, and that's the Z screen value will be equal to 0. So thus the upper right corner will be at the position XW max, YW max and 0, and the lower left corner of the viewport screen area will be present at XW min, YW min and 0. The X and the Y positions on the viewport, they are going to correspond to the position on the refresh buffer. Refresh buffer means that is a frame buffer. Frame buffer is a buffer in which all the data will be stored before moving them onto the display. So this X and Y position on the viewport, they may correspond to some color information, they may correspond to some object information. All this information now it will be stored in the frame buffer. And the depth value for every screen point is also stored in my frame buffer, exactly in the depth buffer. We call that as the depth buffer. So in later on we are going to see how we are going to go for the visible surfaces and all their colors and all. But for now we can see that the position of the rectangular viewport on the screen, how we have done for the 2 dimension, it will be the same thing. The lower left corner of the viewport, it is usually placed at the coordinate position specified relative to the lower left corner of the display window. And the object proportions, they are going to be maintained as per the aspect ratio of the viewport to be the same as per the clipping window.